That back's been bad since we've been together in Pompano, and now it's still bad. Oh, I'm fine. I'm 59. I'm okay. I had my mammogram. It's come back clean. I then did, I did acquiesce and have a X-ray. You have 2 broken ribs and then multiple lesions in your ribs that are craters and in your spine. 7 tests later in 3 different hospitals. 9 days before I was to fly overseas, I was grounded with the diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer to the bone. I don't know what to expect because I had lost 2 friends to stage 4 breast cancer. And I had so much to think about and so much to live for. Prior to that diagnosis, I was an educator, teacher, I was a principal. I also worked for the ministry or district. I then went on and worked for the teacher association of our province, built capacity within teachers. I was diagnosed 1 month after I retired from my professional career. I had started a consulting business. I was being booked to go throughout Canada. I went and had a mammogram in early February. I was called back for an ultrasound, and then I was called back for a biopsy. I came home after a wonderful week, and my doctor, my girlfriend, called me and said that he had breast cancer. I had to be the first person to tell 6 siblings that I have cancer, and not one of them had ever had cancer, be something in my family. Initially, very, very shocking, very sad, because I thought, okay, what am I going to do? And I asked my girlfriend, my doctor, am I going to die? She said, no, worse. I said, worse. You're going to actually have to stop. You have to stop. You have to focus solely on yourself, focus solely on your own health. You're going to have to allow people to look after you, which I know is very difficult for you. But after probably knowing the stage level that I think it is, being a doctor for many years, you'll have surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and hormonal therapy, but you will get through it. I had to gather my ability to allow others to support me as I had supported them, and I got through it. We were planning then to do something and go overseas. It was a dream of ours to go overseas. I was going to be the early elementary social emotional coordinator. My husband was going to be in that couch, and we're very excited about that. My son and his partner were going to take over our home. We were down in Pompano enjoying the warm weather, and then I had a bad back. My sister-in-law, who's a nurse, said, hey, well, it really bothers me. That back's been bad since we've been together in Pompano, and now it's still bad. Just go to the next ray. Oh, I'm fine. I'm 59. I'm okay. I had my mammogram. It's come back clean. I did acquiesce and have a X-ray. This time, it's not my girlfriend. She had retired, but her husband took over with her practice, and he was my doctor. He called me and said, Betty, you have 2 broken ribs and then multiple lesions in your ribs that are craters and in your spine. I called your oncologist. I'm like, what? Why would you call my oncologist? Because I'm a general physician, and I just don't understand why we have these fractured ribs, these lesions, and I'm pulling him in. So he did. 7 tests later in 3 different hospitals. 9 days before I was to fly overseas, I was grounded with the diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer to the bone. How did I feel at that point? My husband and I went down to the beach. We live by many beaches, and we just held hands. My oncologist, who I trust and truly respect, called me. And I asked the same question I asked of my girlfriend. Am I going to die? He goes, not today, not tomorrow. There is not a cure at this time for stage 4 breast cancer. But I do have multiple drugs, as you would say as a teacher, in my toolbox, that I'm going to support you in keeping you alive. It's not curable. You are going to have to be on medications, but you can live. So that is where I began my stage 4 journey. However, the depth of uncertainty that diagnosis brought me, I was thrown into a huge limbo. So people looked to me for strength. And I thought, how am I going to be strong when I don't know my next step? And limbo's not a good place for an A personality. We don't like limbo. He looked at me and he said, you researched education for over 20 years, and you didn't teach children, but you taught teachers for over 20 years. Why don't you begin to look and research stage 4 breast cancer, since there seems to be not very much awareness around it? Maybe I could do that. I like to research. I'm a questioner. So I started. And all of a sudden, I started to change out my pantry. I was always quite healthy eating, but still, could be better. Started to switch out my pantry, my fridge. Started to really look at the patterns in my life that were not supporting me in my health. Because there's no cure. I'm not on a trajectory of cure. I'm on a trajectory of I want to stay alive as long as I can. I had to get echograms. I had to get blood work. I had to take drugs that reduced my neutrophils, which is my immune system. I had to have CAT scans every 3 months. And I call those game day. We call it Scanxiety. And I said, you know what? I do what the clock does. What's that? I keep moving. I just keep moving. And that game day, I pray that I'm going to have the strength to either celebrate that it's stable. Lesions are there, but they've not changed. So you're stable, which is, again, a good reading, or progression. For 2.5 years, I had no evidence of acne. I was elated. I was doing so well, and I was working out at the gym, and we were planning to go to Costa Rica. My doctor called me in Toronto. Your CAT scans are amazing, phenomenal. I'm going out to celebrate. Of course you are. I'm in Toronto. Right. 2 weeks later, I get up in the middle of the night, have a sleepy tea because I couldn't sleep. There was no moon out through all these windows that you see. It's dark. It was dark. And my golden retriever, and I walked back to our bedroom. And I reached for a wall, and I looked down, and I'm now realizing I'm going down up 12 flights of stairs. And I cartwheel 12 flights of stairs. 1, 2, and then I flipped over and landed in the grand room downstairs. I fractured my T12 and my L4. I lost 1.5 inches of my height. So I was able, my 3rd week, to see an orthopedic surgeon. And he went, wow, I can't believe you actually went home that night. I said, well, what was I call you? And I said, I have a question. Do I need surgery? Do I need back brace? No. What do I need? Get rid of your walker. Slowly begin to walk again. Can I go to Costa Rica? Where are you going? January 1st. 4 weeks. You fell 2 weeks ago, 6 weeks. That should be good for you. Be warm. No ice, no snow. And I did. When I came back in April, I had my CAT scan. And I had nurses, my friends that were nurses were there. They gave me my shots for my Vaslodex. I took the Solly. And I had my zoledronic acid prior to leaving. So you can work all these things up, just as you would scheduling anything. When I did come back in May, I unfortunately heard the words from my oncologist and they, your cancer has progressed. Went together, we had an MRI, and there were 3 lesions in my liver. You need systemic care, not targeted care. This is a targeted care. You need systemic. Well, what are we going to do? We are going to have to go on chemotherapy. But in stage 4 chemotherapy, we don't hit you like I hit you when you're at stage 2. Because stage 2, I'm hitting you hard because you're going to, at the end of it, you're not your cure. But since there's no cure, we're not going to hit you hard because we want you to live. Oh, good luck. And we want to push the cancer out. So I had my first round of Xeloda. And he said, I'm going to tell you some of the side effects of Xeloda, but he recognized again that you don't get everything. But we're going to send you away with Ebla to support you in case you do have fatigue, vomiting, in case you have diarrhea, in case you have hand and foot syndrome, etc. I said, okay. So I went to Costa Rica this past year with my husband, 2 months. Could I go down and do Costa Rica the way I did it before? Because I would walk 10 to 14 kilometers, or like 6 miles. No, because that would cause foot syndrome. So I joined the gym. I couldn't walk the beaches. I also have lots of cover up. I'm a love open the sun. I didn't go open the sun. And so just like in life, whatever we're given, we may have to pivot and make adaptation, but it doesn't have to stop us. And on this journey, there's going to be things that are going to cause us to pull up on our resilience. We can ask the question, why me? But when I say that, what about someone says, why you? Why not me? Other people have this. Everyone else. I mean, I'm not that special. I'm human. And this is my journey. Many people that I work with and that I hope to be a model to, because my parents always say, model and mold, model and mold. I want to model that I can live the stage 4 breast cancer. And that is where I started to write this book while I was down there. I asked 10 people to join me while I wrote it. And I'm an educator. I am a researcher. I am a questioner, but I'm not a doctor. So I want to make sure that you watch that I stay in my own lane, which is predominantly mindfulness, resilience, recipes, foods, living life to the fullest, dealing with grief. All of those things I can do it was therapeutics for me. And I was living full. And I'm blowing people away because they're now realizing you can have stage 4 cancer and live. Not only can you live, you travel. No, you travel, you're right full. Because when I came back to Nova Scotia, in Costa Rica, I had no side effect. I came back from Costa Rica in April. I had my CAT scan. My own physician saw it and she had to call me. She said, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I just going to say this. What? You're going to be really... I am. Yes, that's all I can say. I clicked. And then when I met with my general practitioners before my oncologist, they came in and they're like, girl, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I said, yes. And they said, Dr. Rayson, now we still need you for you to go to see him because he's going to talk about what's happening. Because when I got home for over 2 weeks, Nova Scotia has what we call sprinter, winter, spring, sprinter. And my hands, they're getting better now, but because of the cold, damp weather, I started to get hand symptoms. So I put my gloves on every night before I go to bed, and I put the Vaseline and the such. So when I went to see Dr. Rayson, he first and foremost said, Betty, you couldn't have a better scan. It's not that I'm back at no evidence of active disease, but I pushed everything back. Zolota pushed everything back. My lifestyle pushed everything back. My fate pushed everything back. But he said, we're going to have to lower your dosage. I said, what about its efficacy? Will it still work on lower dose? Yeah, oh yes. So I went on the lower dose. But again, they can control the dose, but they can't control the weather. And so last week I went and they said, we're going to give you a week off. Because sometimes women and men on these side effects were given a week off. And then we're going to lower dosage more. So I'm presently on the lower dosage now. Yes, I had to lower my dose. I still feel amazing. Just make sure your stomach hurts, back hurts, brain hurts, lung hurts, get a check. When we grew up, if you said, no, it's about me, stop being selfish. Don't be selfish. There was no discussion of self-care. And we as women, mothers, sisters, caregivers, we very seldom look to ourselves. You're out there supporting others. And I call my book Rise because I was brought 5 times to my knees. And I had asked my question, am I going to stay down or am I going to rise? And I call myself back.